What's up, everyone? It's your boys again. This is our second podcast. Sorry it took so long to get the first podcast up on iTunes. It was our first time doing it. And apparently it takes like 3 or 4 days for iTunes to
approve us. Now that we've been approved, it'll be a much quicker process.
Yeah. Remember, Mysterio, talk to the microphone.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking to my... Thank you for telling me that, because I thought I was supposed to talking to your chair head.
Well, sometimes you last time you were talking to me, you were like turning your head.
I thought I was supposed to talking to the mirror. Psych! I guess I just did it.
We want to thank you guys for listening to the first podcast, and a lot of you guys were sending us messages through social media, and because a lot of people don't want to be vocal about their opinions. They don't want to be too opinionated on social media, because especially other producers, like a lot of our peers were hitting us up and thanking us for starting the podcast in the first place. So it was cool to see everyone and how they received the first podcast. So I just want to thank you guys for that. Well, let's get things started with the second podcast. One topic we definitely want to talk about that's really been grinding our gears is producer etiquette. Not producer etiquette, I'm sorry. Etiquette when approaching a producer. Right, Mysterio? I mean, this is a topic that you actually brought up and we decided to talk about in this podcast.
Absolutely. Because, it's been happening, but especially also as of late, producers will, hit us up with a track, and before we even get a chance to listen to the track, there'll be 10 follow-ups, did you hear it yet? I don't know why you're not answering me. Do you just hate me? Do you not like my shit? What's the problem? How come you're not answering me? What the fuck? What the fuck, guys? And the way I look at it, it's very similar to, the dating game, right? Whether you're a guy or a girl, you're supposed to go on a date with somebody. It's the equivalent of you're supposed to go on a date, you've already, you've been talking, whatnot, and then you hit the person up so what's good? I don't understand. When are you going to give me the date? When are we meeting up? Are we doing this? What's the problem? What, am I ugly? You don't like me? You don't want to fuck me? What's the problem? Nobody likes the thirst, man, in any game, and it turns the person off, so it could have been a situation where we were busy, we didn't get to the music right away, or whatever the situation was. You gotta give time to let shit rock. And, after a certain amount of time, if you don't get a response, the answer is not to double down and to keep going harder. It's just that you have to understand, man, Fight Club, we go above and beyond to help people. It really is a part of what we do. Yeah. And, we do this for the culture. We have Fight Free, and we are really about this. But at the same time, you can't lose sight of the fact that we are artists ourselves, and we're in the grind ourselves. We're working on tracks. We're working on releases. We're doing a lot of stuff in-house.
I would say everything is in-house at this point.
Everything is in-house. Our time is precious. There's not enough time in a day. So as much as we do love, and as much as it's important to us to listen to other music and to find avenues for it, at the end of the day, obviously, we need to put ourselves first. Because if we don't have a name, if we don't have our place, there's no way we could possibly help you before we help ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we need to secure our spot. And so we're in the grind with ourselves. We don't always get the chance to answer or respond right away. It's not because we don't care. It's not because we're assholes. It's not because we're like everybody else. It's just the situation is not enough time in a day, and we do plan on getting to everything eventually. But, sometimes things fall to the crack. It's okay to give a follow-up, oh, you guys never answered me, are you still interested? I'm more talking about, 10 messages in the span of 3 days. If I didn't answer to the first one or the second one, I'm probably not going to answer the next 8.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it eventually.
Sure.
But I think something to also definitely note is the fact that some producers are so eager to also collaborate with producers. We're not even on a level yet where we can decline requests for collaborations, because we're still, like you said, we're all about giving back to the culture, and we still feel like we're at the level where we can collaborate with a lot of up-and-coming producers. But you can't... We had a situation, we don't want to mention any names, but there was a producer who is incredibly talented, and we were very excited at the prospect of potentially working with him on a track. And he sent us an idea, and we listened to it, and we thought it was amazing, and we were like, yeah, we're definitely interested. And that was the extent of it, right, Mysterio? We just said that, something to that effect. We just said, yeah, we're interested. But the producer never sent us the stems. For those of you that aren't producers, stems are the parts of the song, and usually you send those parts out to the other producers so you can collaborate. This producer never sent us anything. What he did was he took it upon himself to just finish the song, and then he went as far as to say, yeah, I'm already shopping it to certain labels. And we were just taken back. We were like, wait, what? Like, we didn't even work on the track, and we don't use ghost producers. Like, we produce our own music, so we're not about that. You know, in certain cultures, in certain parts of the world, that's not frowned upon. Like, people are, it's just it's a normality. It's like the norm. Oh, okay.
That's why I would say, to his defense, that's probably the way he collabed with producers in the past. But that's not how the fuck we roll.
Correct. Yeah, he's probably used to just sending certain producers finished songs, and we were like, wait, nah, man, that's not how we roll, dude. Like, we don't do that. We don't just have someone make the song for us and then just slap our name on it because we're a bigger artist. Like, that's not what we're about. So that's also an example that we want to bring up, because that's not proper etiquette. You never do that. You don't just assume that another producer is gonna attach their name to a song, even though they expressed interest or excitement about potentially collaborating with you. You can't just go ahead and do something like that. That's just way too forward.
For the sake of being a devil's advocate, also, we could have handled it better. We did say we're interested. There should have been a follow-up, like, yo, send us the stems. We're very busy, we might not get to it right away, but let's get things moving, send us the stems. We kind of left it open.
True.
With the whole,
I guess we also learned something from this experience as well. Yeah.
Sure. It is always a two-way street. You do need to be very clear and clarify what your intentions are on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah, so again, we're just telling you guys this for those of you that are watching that are excited about getting into production or are already producing and want to approach bigger artists for collaborations or just to even send music. Just take this with a grain of salt. This is just our opinion. You might feel differently, but I can speak for a lot of producers. A lot of guys aren't really, they're not really with that. They don't condone that type of behavior.
So here's the thing, though. Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys aren't with it. If they answer to your initial text or email, they're interested to some degree, because a lot of guys wouldn't even open it. So if there's already been a dialogue, to some degree there's an interest, or to some degree. So there's no need for you now to go super hard and follow up with 10 more messages,
I think the rule of thumb, for me at least, the way I've approached it in the industry is you send one email out or one DM, whatever it is, and then you wait a week. And then you send a follow-up. And if they don't respond, give it another week. And then hit them up again. Reach out again. And if they don't respond by the second one,
you gotta know when to leave it alone.
Then you just leave it alone. Yeah. Because they're obviously not interested or they're very busy. And if you guys cross paths at some point, you can bring it up in person, and then sometimes that helps too, because then the producer remembers and go, I remember this kid. I remember he was the one that sent me that awesome track.
But it's all about how you say it. You don't say, hey, what the fuck, man? You were talking to me and then I gave you 3 follow-ups. You never answered me, you fucking dick.
That's happened to me.
What's up?
They haven't called me a dick per se, but they have said, hey man, remember that time I sent you that track? And I'm meeting this person for the first time, face to face, and then I go, not really, I don't really remember. And they go, yeah, well, you never responded to me. I sent it to you, and like I sent you like a couple of messages and you never responded. I'm like, what? Like, this is what you want to talk to me about when you're meeting me for the first time? Like, come on. Like, that's just a little awkward.
Yeah.
It's all about how you approach someone. Like,
sure.
Yeah, exactly, Mysterio. You can't just...
We've been in situations where people have said that and we're like, yo, play the track right now. Like if we go in a room and we listen, and you know, like it's about how you approach it. If you're respectful and just like you look a little disappointed or whatever, we'll listen right now. Like.
Yeah, and then they literally give us the headphones. And we
that's happened. That has happened.
It has happened.
That's cool, no problem. But again, the people we've done that with didn't come accusatory. They were more just like, I don't know what happened. Maybe you didn't get it. You want to hear it now?
Yeah.
Hey, sure, man. I have a minute. Why not?
I remember I learned that from Skrillex. That's why it was great having him as a mentor. Because I remember Skrillex would straight up just listen to people's music in the green room. So sometimes the promoters would allow like certain guys to come in the green room that I guess were affiliated with the promoters or whatever, and these kids were also producers, and Skrillex would just listen to their music. They would play it for him, and he was just really nice and super humble about it. It was just like, oh yeah, let me and he would actually give them feedback, which is unheard of, you know? I don't know if he would do that now. He's just on a bigger level now, but the fact that he was doing that even back then when he was getting so popular, like that speaks volumes about him. And in general, like any producer that does that, I give them a lot of props for that, because a lot of guys wouldn't take the time to do that, to listen to you know, an up and comer's music in a green room or at a show, right? Like that's
exactly. And producers are aware that this isn't something everybody does. So you're one of those guys that offers that. You don't want to be felt like you're taken advantage of.
Right.
Because when we have somebody throwing it in our face that we didn't listen to the shit, we can't help as humans but stand back and be like, maybe this is why people don't do this.
Exactly.
Because,
exactly.
Look at the way I'm being treated and I try to be nice, give back to the culture.
Yeah.
Man, would it be better if I was just a dick producer who was just ghost to the world? I wouldn't end up being made to feel bad at the end of the day.
Speaking of taking advantage,
You know,
let's talk about...
Don't take a mile if someone gives you an inch.
Let's talk about what happened with Diplo, right?
Oh, yeah.
Diplo and Dame
You're
Dash.
just amazing with the segues, SAV.
I am the king.
You are the king.
Mother effing segue.
You're the motherfucking king of the segues.
All right, there you go, dropping the F-bomb again.
Is iTunes?
No, you can curse on iTunes.
Okay, so we good. We Gucci. What's the problem?
We want to reach a broader audience, don't we, Mysterio? We
Yeah,
want kids to listen
the
to
broads
us.
don't mind when you curse.
As I was saying, wow. This whole Diplo Dame Dash thing came out of nowhere, right? So for those of you that are not like aware of what happened recently, apparently Dame Dash, who used to work with Kanye West, right, Mysterio? He was his producer. Well, I mean, Kanye used to produce for Dame, right?
Yes.
During the Rockefeller days.
Yes. They were linked for sure. I believe Kanye.
Well, Dame was working with Jay-Z at the time.
Yes,
right?
the whole Rockefeller connection.
Rockefeller, and then Kanye got brought on board as a producer for Jay-Z.
Fast forward all these years later, the way I saw it online, there was a video, Dame Dash video message to Kanye, and he was like, yo, Kanye, fuck all that shit you talking about. Fuck all that shit, probably talking about the MAGA stuff. And he was playing the beat, which I guess he was selling it as, this is my beat. That, you know, yo, Kanye, check out this beat. You gotta jump on this shit. Fuck all that bullshit you on. You gotta jump on this beat. And if you listen to the beat, I don't know if I kind of recognized him. Like, wait a minute, it's a Diplo, right? Like, and I was right. It was actually off of the Florida EP.
No, it's an
Florida
album.
album.
Yeah, 2004.
Diplo's first album.
We're talking about 14 years ago, dude.
14 years
2004,
ago.
and the track is called Sarah. It's crazy.
Crazy, and
Crazy.
The interesting thing for me was my initial reaction is like, of all the songs that you're gonna steal and try to give to Kanye, like, it wasn't a specifically impressive one or one that made sense for Kanye, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It didn't. I was like, this is weird that Dame Dash is so excited to like give this beat to Kanye, especially because it's not even his. There were just so many fundamental wrongs about this situation.
Maybe someone just grouped a bunch of instrumentals for Dame and just put them in a folder, and then Dame just probably just played that one randomly.
But it's interesting that was the one, Come on, Dame,
It's
go
true.
through them. At least pick one for my man, Yay.
But the interesting thing about all this is that a lot of producers talk about this stuff all the time. And it's incredible how it can happen to someone even on Diplo's level. Someone just straight up jacked his song. I mean, granted, they didn't do anything too advanced with it, right? Like, it's not like they released the song and sold it or anything. Like, he was just essentially playing a preview of it on Instagram. So it's not like anything was done to that level yet, but he's essentially playing someone else's song and claiming it for his own, which is something that happens all the time to producers. There's some producers that oftentimes people will create a fake SoundCloud account and then they'll use their song and then just rename it and then claim authority or ownership over it.
Sure.
And then say it's their song and they're basically stealing the song.
It's a really noob move on their part to try this on Diplo, of all people, because, Diplo is smart man in the business. And there's ways in the industry that this thing happens in cleaner ways, like under the table dealings, like, you like the track, you gotta reimburse Diplo, cut him off on something, and you can have it. I mean, there's ways to do this maturely and business-wise without straight up jacking it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But like I was saying, it's not like it didn't get to that point. It didn't get far enough to that point.
Sure.
Into the process. Like, they didn't actually sell the song. Nothing came about it. But the fact that his intentions were already there is wrong.
Of course. Well, Diplo saw it happening, and he said, let me nip this in the ass now.
Of course.
So if they really want this track, they know what they have to do.
Yeah.
They need to approach me, and we'll work something out.
It's kind of cool, because if that were to happen to us, I know our approach would be like, yo, if you really like that beat, I don't know if you know, but that's my beat. If you really like it, I'll sell it. You can have it. But I don't know how it would work, though, because Diplo already released that album in 2004. I guess it's his track, right?
Sure.
So he has the ownership over it, so.
Sure.
It could end up working out for Diplo in the long run. But
Sure,
the reason
so.
we want to bring it up is because we want to teach you guys how to protect your music, because copywriting has been an issue for many producers over the last 30, 40 years, man. And one way that I think would definitely work for a lot of you that can't afford fancy lawyers is if you're on ASCAP or BMI, you can upload your music. There's a feature that you can actually put the title of your song, put the date, the year, the time that it was created, put all the information regarding it, and you can submit it, and then it's there. It exists. So the fact that you can do that is definitely a way to protect yourself. If you're sending beats to other people, to MCs or singers, vocalists, whatever it is, you can just do that. You can upload the music and protect yourself that way. Also, like we were talking about Mysterio, we were talking about poor man's copyright, which doesn't always necessarily work. But hey, if you email the song, let's say you finish a song, right? And then you email it to yourself. There's a timestamp on the email. So that's legal proof in a court of law showing that the track existed on that specific date and time and that it's your song. Now, you might be saying, oh, well, how do you prove that it's your song? You can just upload any song and email it to yourself. Well, that's where it gets tricky, correct. But the way you combat that is by having the stems, right? If you have the parts to your own song, or if you have the session to your own song, if someone ever steals your song and it ever gets to the point where you have to go to court, you can bring your laptop and show them the session and say, hey, this is the song right here. This is the song. I made it. Here are the parts. Here's the session. Here's the actual session. So there's ways around it, But a lot of the times, especially in hip hop, we know a lot of hip hop producers that have had their tracks straight up stolen, and not the fact that they took the track and then.
That's Pineapple City.
Yeah, we have a friend. She's an MC called Pineapple City. She's from New Jersey, and she sent 50 Cent some of her music. And 50 Cent expressed interest. It's going back to the earlier topic. He expressed some interest, and then he went ghost on her. So what ended up happening was 50 Cent later released a song that sounded very similar to the song she had sent him. And she found out about it. And nowadays with social media, it's hard to keep things like that a secret. right? Because she went on Instagram and blasted him and did a side-by-side comparison. And he not just stole the idea of the track that she had sent him, he also stole her flow, which is crazy because he stole two different things from the same song. So yeah, man, it's a lot more difficult for shady businessmen in the music industry to get away with stuff like that. But yeah, those are just some ways that I think personally could protect you as an artist. Don't just send your beats off like that without like uploading them, like I said, to ASCAP or BMI, or emailing them to yourself, because it's very likely that one day you will encounter this issue. Someone will try to jack your stuff.
Well, more than anything, also, it was refreshing, to say the least, to see this happening to someone as big as Diplo. It's just one of those things where we looked at each other like, shit, it can even happen to him. So,
Exactly.
because, this has happened to us, obviously, and recently as one of our songs being jacked from us. And not that I was happy it happened to Diplo, but it definitely did make me feel like, damn, man, this even happens to Diplo. It's just a game.
Yeah, we had a similar situation happen to us, and it wasn't very, very cool.
But those two things are definitely great examples of what you can do to try to avoid it.
Yeah, or even like, for example, in our situation, what I should have done initially was, before I sent any stems out to the person that I was working with, I should have sent them a side artist agreement, just to show like, hey, all right, we're gonna work on this song. Let's have this agreement in place, indicating what our splits are gonna be: royalty, publishing, writing credits, etc., etc. But I mean, a lot of people don't do that though. A lot of people they get so excited about collaborating that they just want to get things moving. They don't really think about the legalities, right, Mysterio? Like, no one's really thinking like that. Like, oh, let me send my friend Bobby this contract because now we're gonna collaborate. No, you're not thinking like that.
We're all artists. At first, I think a lot of us.
Artists
There's
first,
nothing wrong with that.
businessmen second. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, yeah. But it's just good to protect yourself, though.
But yeah, you need to remember that, unfortunately, it's not an artist game. It's a business game. And you can get excited and whatever, oh, I'm gonna send my friend this, and no. Always cover yourself, and it actually is smart to get that contract and that paperwork out of the way first.
Absolutely. Sometimes when I work with certain producers from other parts of the world, they'll send me an email, and at the bottom they'll have a signature saying, everything that was sent to you in this particular email is belongs to me, blah blah blah, like legal language on the bottom, like protecting them. And at first I was like taken back by that. I was like, well, why is this person like sending me this signature with all this legal stuff? Like, do they not trust me? But shit, man, when I really thought about it, I was like, they have no reason to trust me. They don't know me from a hole in the wall. Like, I can steal their music right now, and that's it. You know, what are they gonna do about it? So it's good. It's good. It's good to take precautionary measures, because you never know who you're dealing with. But
so I started doing these vocal throat exercises.
wow. On that note, we have the first release of 2018 right here with us. And
I gave you a lot of credit earlier for your segues. That was a garbage segue, SAV.
It's kind of hard to bounce back from gargling.
Can I try a better segue?
Sure. Go right ahead.
There's a lot of ways to have your music stolen from you, obviously, as we talked about, and there's things you can do to be safe about it.
Wait, why are we going back to that topic?
One thing I can guarantee you, that your tracks will not be stolen if you send them for submission to Fight Free, our label, which we're bringing back. One of these such people, Dimitri Sanity, send us a song
Great segue.
for submission back in June. And the label still wasn't back on its feet yet because we were in a transitional period with management. But guess what? We're back. We're bringing the label back. So we contacted Dimitri Sanity and said, you remember that track you sent us in June? We want it. We did the paperwork, all the legal stuff, and now we have the track. It's coming out, and we're going to play it for you. And it's fire. That's how you do a segue.
Correct, Mysterio. You definitely one-up me on that. You just slam dunked on my ass.
I just went LeBron on Jordan.
Whoa, okay.
I called you Jordan.
Oh, okay. Well, that's definitely a compliment.
And I called myself LeBron.
Definitely a compliment.
You're still better than me, but I just went at this moment. You know what I mean? I talked to you for the moment.
Anyhow. Yeah, this is the track. Our boy Dimitri Sanity, who goes by the name of Sanity as a producer.
Let me just say, Sanity is one of my favorite people in the culture, because he's totally like just a fixture of this culture, man. Y'all might not know about him. Look him up. He has a fucking huge portfolio, man. Like, he's been making music for a hot minute, as well as his brother Critty. Those two are extremely talented people in the culture, man. And
extremely talented.
They've been at it for so many years.
And extremely humble.
Since we started, I want to say, like, back in, I mean, what, 2012, 2013, they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And
I'm very proud of this track.
And I'm very proud to be able to put this track out.
We're very proud to release this out.
Yeah. I had heard this track years ago, but they edited vocals, and they were ahead of their time with it, so it's okay. Because this track is really relevant right now, and really excited and proud to put this one out.
And like we were saying in our first podcast, make sure you send us your demos at fightclubpromo@gmail.com, and we will review the demos that we handpick live on our podcast. And we will listen to them for the first time, and not only review them, but we will also let you know if we will actually sign them and put them out on Fight Free.
And this goes back to what we were saying earlier, like, Sanity's actually somebody we can consider a friend. When we were in Miami, we met up, hung out, went to the bar together.
Definitely.
Sanity is someone who knows us. And he was so professional throughout this thing. He didn't harass us from back in June. Hey, what's up, guys? You expressed interest. You're putting it out. What's going on? What's going on? Sanity let it rock. And we approached him back. Like, yo, we really like this track. It's going to happen. That's somebody who knows us, and he didn't overstep his boundaries. Just kudos to Sanity and his professionalism and his artistry and everything.
On that note, here is Zeshin Live Sessions vocal mix featuring I think it's pronounced Cool and Sono. Sanity. Terrible mystery. Terrible.
So, are the cameras still going to be on during this?
Yes.
Is it okay if I masturbate?
No, it is not okay.
No, I wouldn't take it out. It would be in the pants.
Damn, son. Where'd you find this?
Right now, my hand is on my penis.
Okay, quiet.
second. MIP, pique your interest. Well, it's another learned lesson. Cause I got scars and they ain't heal right. No story perfect, this is real life. Retaliation of my mental. They say it wasn't kill you until making you vengeful. Praying for new prey to enter my crosshairs. Thoughts in my head, I'm wondering if I'm all there. Been looking for handshakes, I'm just giving them long stares. Driving me crazy, about to crash, I'm so off here. And every day is like a long night. A dark out with no highlights. All the pain is still with me. Don't tempt me.
I'm gonna stop it there, dude. I'm gonna stop it there.
Why'd you stop it?
I'm gonna stop it there because
I was in it for the long haul.
yeah, I just want to say that track definitely came a long way from its inception. I remember he sent me that as an instrumental, and I played that at Pasha. I think we were playing with, I don't know, Mort Fustang at the time, Mysterio.
That's when I threw out the breakfast sandwiches. Right? That's like 7.
No. That's when we played with Congo Rock at like 6 in the morning. But yeah, I remember I played that song a few years ago, and when Sanity approached me to release it on the label, I was excited. And then I heard the vocal edit, and I was like, oh, damn, dude. Like, this track just evolved and became something else. It definitely gives me that big room feel, right? From like 2012, 2013. Just those big chords, and then like that very like bare bones kind of drop, which still slaps super hard, but the fact that he did kind of like a psytrance type drop makes it even more relevant than ever, because psytrance is getting really popular now.
Yeah.
So we're even thinking about doing a remix pack. Definitely need someone to do a psytrance edit in there for sure at like 150 BPM. But yeah, very excited to release this track. It's coming out October, I believe October 26th. Not sure yet on the date, but definitely towards the end of October. So be on the lookout for that. Coming out on Fight Free. And again, if you guys want to submit music to the label, send it to fightclubpromo@gmail.com. We'll put the email in the description, the YouTube channel. And very excited, man. I'm very excited. One more topic that we want to discuss is the climate right now that we're living in. And I'm not talking about like geopolitics or anything like that. We're not talking about like
global
warming or no. We're not getting into that stuff. I'm talking about the climate
global warming does not exist, SMB. Stop spreading your fake news.
It's fake news, isn't it? It's fake
I don't want to hear it.
Global warming is fake
Little
news.
people at Fight Club don't deserve to hear
I want to
it.
talk about the climate
Doesn't
regarding
exist.
the EDM industry, and talking about like electronic dance music and the music and the labels that surround the music.
Which is actually a good label, a good segue to go from our label
Well, thank you.
to this, because it's part of the reason why we started the label.
Right. Yeah, we started the label because we realized that there are a lot of labels in our scene, in our community, that are just not really releasing that much music as often as they used to. So then I started looking into it more in depth, and I started asking people that I know that work for big record labels in electronic music, and even in the smaller ones. And I got different explanations from a lot of them, but for the most part, the core reasoning makes sense. And I think the problem right now in our scene is that a lot of these labels are scaling back because they're afraid that they are not making enough money to warrant promoting these releases. So they don't feel like it makes sense for them to put and back up money behind releases for smaller artists when they're not getting that money back. A lot of them are not even, they're not breaking even. You know, they're just spending money and they're getting losses at the end of the year. And it doesn't make sense from a business perspective.
That's why you're seeing the emergence of the 360 deals in dance music.
Right. And I think that's kind of like they're adopting that whole ideology from the major labels, which is kind of ironic, right? Because they used to...
It happened to rock music.
The reason they started these labels was to go against the major labels, and now that electronic music is so big, they're kind of adopting the same mentality, which sucks because...
And these same mentalities that hurt those other genres.
Right.
Which is the odd thing. And there's no question that this is already starting to hurt this genre, and it's only going to get worse. But this is why we urge people to do kind of what we're doing and what we see a lot of our peers doing. Start it up yourself. Do it yourself. In the same vein, we were seeing this a lot in 2012 with the emergences of the independent labels. When you had Luca, who was I forget what they. Damn it, what was the name of that?
Trouble and Bass. You're thinking,
Trouble
right?
and Bass. Yeah. But yeah, we definitely need a new emergence of artists just being forward-thinking and getting things off the ground themselves without the labels, man.
Correct, because a lot of these labels, what they're doing, like we said, for those of you that don't know what a 360 deal is a 360 deal encompasses making money and earnings from an artist who tours. So their touring income, their revenue streams from merchandise, from everything but everything outside of music, essentially. So it's not just the labels have you sign a 360 deal or prefer for an artist to sign a 360 deal because they want to make outside revenue from other things that just don't solely rely on music, because a lot of these labels want to make money from everything an artist is doing and not just rely on their music income. So it's just a safer bet for them, right? I mean, I guess it makes sense when you look at it logistically, but it just sucks because the labels that we looked up to when we first got into dance music, a lot of them, like I said, are only releasing music from certain artists that are exclusively signed to their labels or that have some sort of publishing deal or 360 deal with the label or the artists that own the label. Because I remember a lot of artists in the beginning, everyone was just putting out, it was like the Wild West, right, Mysterio? Everyone was just releasing on all these labels. It didn't matter if you were Joe Schmo from
Back
Brazil
in 2012, you had,
Joe Schmo from Wisconsin.
Mad Decent was thriving.
Yeah.
Osla was thriving. All these different labels were thriving, and music was getting signed left and right by ourselves, by all of our peers. And that suddenly changed. The other thing with these major labels is, obviously they're more inclined to fuck with you if you already have clout, you already have a name. They're definitely not looking to build an artist up from the ground up. And that's just as simple as being lazy and not wanting to put that kind of work in.
I think it comes down again to resources and finances, Mysterio. Just to play devil's advocate, I think the labels realize, like, well, why am I going to invest so much time and money into a producer who's not even relatively known when I can just invest all that time and money into someone that already has a fan base and that will generate us some sort
I'd make the argument,
revenue stream.
You're putting time into something you believe in, and it's like growing a plant. Sure, you might get that artist when he's a seed, but that can flourish in and become eventually this big artist, as opposed to these same artists that you're putting all your money in. Nothing lasts forever. Like, eventually those artists are gonna get old or get tired. And I just think it's a dangerous game.
It is dangerous. It is dangerous because you're not allowing the up and comers.
Sure.
To
you're not thinking
rise
about
up.
the future.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs for sure, for dance music especially, because
yeah,
I like seeing the labels that I came up with put out music that they used to put out. It just doesn't really make sense now when I go to a label and I'm like, wow, they just released like 2 releases this month. When back in the days, they would release like 5 or 6.
And both releases are caca.
Yeah, they're not really all that great, right? The releases are
I
going
feel
out.
that. I feel everything that's successful, even the mainstream stuff, whether you're talking about film, music, I think the key component behind it is always culture. And when you start,
100%.
when you start
Yep.
to milk the culture and not give back to it, and you start to rape, I'm sorry to use that word, but when you start to rape the culture in anything, that's when you start to see the beginning of the end, when you start to see the demise. And I believe that dance music grew up and blew up and all that stuff in most recently in that era when it started going mainstream and I don't know, 2011 and 12, like it was starting with the culture. It was starting with the underground. And then people were slowly catching up. You did a fucking documentary on this.
I did.
You know about this.
Yep.
But
Some of the labels that I looked up to and that I even got involved in that documentary aren't even around anymore.
No.
Sadly.
but they got swallowed up or they just got dissolved or bought
Yeah,
out.
they got dwarfed by major labels, and now they're on the shelf. They're just not doing.
I mean,
they're
look
not
at
active.
look at promotions. Like, look at Hard. Gary Richards is somebody who was part of the culture. He realized the monetary value. He created the Hard parties, and then he got bought out.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually.
And I can't imagine that those parties have the
good
same
point.
integrity that they did when he was running them.
No, and a lot of people were complaining about the Hard lineup this year for Day of the Dead, which we both know. Whenever we saw those lineups for Day of the Dead back in the day, we would get so excited because they were just like the all-star lineup for EDM, right?
Absolutely.
Like they had the best of the best of that year on the lineup. But this year, it felt a little short for a lot of fans. A lot of fans were complaining and they were very vocal about it on social media. But like you said, it's because Gary's not involved anymore. So now even Hard is scaling back, right? Like they don't have the main guy, the creator, the visionary behind it. So
They don't have
it
the guy
suffers.
who understood the culture and
Right.
who cared about it beyond just the monetary.
Also, like while we're on the topic, a lot of fans, I hear the rumblings where they're always discussing like, oh, but why do certain labels only release are starting to release music from certain artists in certain parts of the world? Well, I mean, again, like I think it's actually pretty smart that they're doing that, no? Because if you're a record label and you're not a major label, we're talking about the independent labels in dance music. If you're an independent record label in dance music and you realize like, oh, okay, so our biggest listeners and our biggest fan base is in India or in China or in Germany. Of course, the next logical thing to do would be to sign artists from those regions, right? Because you want to proliferate the music in those regions and keep that fan base growing and strong. But
I see Barang doing that a lot.
yeah, Barong is one of the labels that people mentioned because they were like, well, why did they make a Shanghai documentary? Why are they only like releasing music from certain artists in Holland
They're
and
fucking
in Asia?
global, baby.
Well, yeah, I mean, we realize this firsthand that they have a huge fan base in Asia, and it makes sense for them to release music from Asian
When
artists.
I think of all these labels, I think they're one of the more relevant ones, like Demox and Mad Decence and Barang is doing it right and smart, I think. You know, they got Ray Rays, Sex, you know, the Fight Clubs, the Vortex. They got people in their own, you know, the Dolphs, the Civillos. They're not just keeping it to one part of the country. And I think that's extremely smart. And there's a reason why they're one of the more relevant labels.
Of course, it keeps you relevant, right? Releasing music from artists
Hands down.
that you realize your label is doing well in certain parts of certain areas of the world. You want to release music from those artists that are from those regions, from those territories. It just makes sense. It's
Common sense.
pretty much. But I can see the frustration and the gripe that some producers have, because they're from parts of the world that are not as popular, right? Like I know artists from Venezuela, which right now is just god awful. Venezuela is doing
that
catastrophic over there right now. And
Barong just signed Jay Silva's EP, et cetera, and Jay Silva's from Mexico.
They're from Mexico, right?
I would make the argument, if you're from Venezuela and frustrated, I'm sure Barong will eventually expand there as well.
Well, it's not even just Venezuela. I'm just bringing that up as an example. But
Sure.
Parts of people from Jakarta. We talk to people from all around the world, and everyone tells me, and they come to us because we release music
We're
on
like
the
the
label.
people's DJs, man.
And like we said earlier, we respond to people and we try to give everyone advice. That's why we started these podcasts, because
Unless they harass us.
unless they harass us, correct. Don't harass us. We're trying to help you guys out. That's why we started these podcasts as well, because we felt like it's not enough to just DM someone something. Like we feel like we need to be more vocal and just give people more information in a more concise manner. Right?
I tend to look at everything as Walking Dead. The dance music community, the scene is the zombie apocalypse. The big, unattainable DJs, I don't even have to mention their names, you know who they are. They're the Negans. And they're tied in with the labels and the label heads.
They own the
promoters.
labels.
Sure, who are also the Negans. They're all Negan. Because as we know from the show, all those bad guys are Negan.
Not everyone watches the show, Mysterio. You can't base an analogy based off
Everybody watches
a show that most people.
I mean, it was the
don't
lowest
watch.
rated premiere this Sunday. I didn't even know it came back.
Anyways, we're getting.
No, I'm not done.
Okay, continue.
SAV is like Rick Grimes, and I'm Daryl. Before Daryl turned on him, you know. Daryl's kind of getting.
Why are you spoiling things
No, I'm not really
about the
spoiling
show
up
on a
until last-
podcast about electronic dance music?
Anyway, so we're like Daryl and Rick, and we're trying. We understand, man, that the people need to stick together. We can't be like Negan. You can't be bullies. We need to have each other's backs, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to navigate our way through the zombie apocalypse that is the EDM scene, and we're trying to help each other, man, because we realize if we all help each other, we can all eat. We can all survive this fucking apocalypse. But if you try to Negan your way through this and try to cut throats, you're gonna end up locked up in a fucking cage and defeated.
A lot of producers that are worried about not getting their music signed, just keep trying. And like Mysterio said earlier, put stuff out yourself. Create your own movements. It's all about doing that right now. I know, for example, a producer called Ash, right? He's from, I believe, Jakarta. Ash has been putting out music independently for the last 3 years, and he's got more SoundCloud followers than us. He's extremely popular. Sometimes I watch his live streams on Instagram, and it's just crazy. He has like 300 people sometimes in his live streams. He did it all independently, people. Independent. No help from any labels. So if someone like Ash can do it, you can do it too. Just be dope. Just make innovative stuff, because Ash was doing something innovative at the time, and still is. He was making his style of Moombahton, his version of Moombahton.
Yes.
It's all about being innovative and being different. You can't just expect to get signed to a label because you're making the music that everyone else is making. You have to be innovative and stand out. And then maybe these labels will actually pay attention to you. That's how we got the attention of Barong. Our music was good enough that other DJs were playing it. And we got footage. Shit, GTA even brought us out at Ultra to premiere 8 drums at the time. Our music was so dope that other DJs were playing it, and we got all the tweets and all the DMs we were getting and all the videos of all the DJs playing our music, and then we sent it to Barong. We're like, yo, look, we're getting all this love from all these DJs. And then Barong was like, oh shit, like damn, this is dope. We wanna be behind this. It's all about building your own clout. Get your shit together. Stop complaining. Oh, labels aren't signing my stuff. Labels are being whacked now. Labels need to make money. And we need to understand what it is at this point. We're in that climate right now. Things aren't the way they were back in 2012. It's unfortunate. It sucks. I wish it was different, but it's the way it is. So we have to fend for ourselves in this jungle or in this zombie apocalypse, like Mysterio said. And we have to figure things out on our own, man. Gotta just be independent. We have the power of the internet. If you are that good and dope, people will discover you. You know, of course you gotta put some money behind some posts, and obviously you gotta target ads. I'm not saying that you know, it's just gonna happen organically like that. You have to obviously put some elbow grease into it. Like, look at 6ix9ine.
Gotta put in the elbow grease.
6ix9ine, right? Perfect example. 6ix9ine, man, even though he has nothing to do with dance music, that kid went viral independently. He was working with like a YouTube video channel from like somewhere in Europe, Croatia, Budapest, I don't know where. And that motherfucker went viral. And now he's one of the biggest hip hop artists in the game. And that could happen in our scene too. You can be the next Tiesto or whoever you look up to, the next Chainsmokers, whatever. Like, you can do that. It's just a matter of...
I mean, we were there. We watched Sonny Moore, Skrillex do it just like that. His first EP, I mean, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. I just totally botched that. But
well, that was his second EP. Yeah, his first EP was My Name is Skrillex. Yeah.
Independent.
Oh, independent. Well, the first one was independent. My Name is Skrillex, and then the second one, like you just said, Scary Monsters.
Sure, but based off
he had the cosign. Yeah, but if it wasn't, you're right. If it wasn't for the first EP,
sure,
the second EP would have never happened.
Absolutely.
So it took innovation and skill, determination for that dude to get where he is today. On that note, we're out of time. We went over time a little bit, but we just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, send your demos, send your music to fightclubpromo@gmail.com so we can start reviewing them, because we didn't get enough. A lot. Ooh, I lost my voice. A lot of you guys are probably just catching up with the podcast. This is only our second one, but yeah, send us your music and we'll review it. And if you want to submit it to our label Fight Free, we'll not only review it, but if we think it's dope, we'll announce it live if we're down to sign it.
Until next time, stay true to yourself, take shit from no one, and wear rubbers. We out.